waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. Living in this world. It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, I'm out of here. I can do anything, fuck your opinions and energy. I finally got the epitome. My biggest hindrance was God can't do nothing but fail. Greater is me. I never needed your deity. All of this human capacity. When it gets rough, I can pick myself up and prevail. Cause I don't need anything other than people who fuck with me. Good business, it starts with good company. That's why your boy is obsessed with community. Cause greater is we. We can create opportunity, doing what God never did, cause a God never could, but a people is all we need. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah. Gotta let me go.
Happy Sunday, everybody. What's up, family? So glad to see you all today. So glad to have you here. Yes, Muttley, I did not know until you just said it that, today is...
It's kind of early.
It's daylight saving time, so time it's leaped forward, spring
yeah.
forward. Now, like if once we get our team together, every year we got to take advantage of that thematically. Every year we got to do something about spring forward and fall back. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Happy International Women's Day, which was yesterday. To all of the women out there, happy day, happy day.
Happy day.
You know, internationally. Listen, y'all, welcome to BridgeCity Global, where we are a community of people from all over the world. Can't get my words out, y'all. Committed to building community beyond superstition. If you don't know by now, my name is Darante LaMar.
I thought you, if you don't know,
now you know. Yeah. But we're so glad that you're all here with us for another transformative Sunday sessions. Whether this is your first time or you're part of our day ones, I'm telling you, you're in the right place. Since March of this year, our community has exploded from just 52 people to over 12,400 subscribers across six continents, man. And just drop some fire in the chat if you think that that's something worth celebrating. But because I do, like literally every week, it's been a different number, you know? That's why we include this in our part of the opening. It's a way to kind of measure and say, where are we? And we can literally look at our notes 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's like, man, we were at 10,000, we were at 9,000, we were at 5,000. But this community is attractive. It is growing. I see the fire in the chat. Yes, deep as hell. Dr. Troy, if you don't know, now you know, baby. It was all a dream. Used to read word. Okay, I'm sorry. But that means right now, as you're watching, you're a part of something bigger than just a live stream. You are a part of a global movement, and that is absolutely exciting. We are one of the fastest growing communities on planet Earth right now. Yeah, I said it.
You feel good? You get to say that.
Yes, good to say.
Kingdom Century.
Right? Yeah, I guess it's just that track record, right? But I'm so excited about everything that we're doing and all of the new people that we're meeting and all of the great things that we're accomplishing. It's just absolutely beautiful. And of course, since community is at the heart of what we do, let's connect. If you're here, let's make sure that we get connected, right? So drop a quick introduction in the chat. let us know where you're watching from, right? Because y'all know we're building out our map and we're figuring out where you are. I realized, holy snap, we got a super chat, and I got to recognize these super chats. And by the way, I don't know if y'all noticed or not, though this is not church, we do accept super chats. You can drop them as many as you want. Muttley Von Erich says, for £5, just realized Darante have the same initials as Donald Duck. That's funny. That's hilarious. No, wait, they don't. Oh, that's hilarious. I need sleep. Dayton, Ohio. All right. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, let us know where you're watching from, because we put all these places on our map. You're going to find more about you're going to find out more about what we're planning for BridgeCity Weekends in our news segment when Dr. Troy comes up. So I won't say too much about that, but that's why we want to know where you are. And then, of course, you can join the conversation in our Discord campus and introduce yourself. If you got here early today, you should have pulled up to the pre-session meet and greet in Discord. It's the perfect space to meet fellow members, vibe out, and get to know the community before the session starts. Now, before we dive in, let's make sure that you're fully tapped into this movement, all right? So make sure you've liked this video because that helps more people find us. Make sure that you've subscribed to the channel. I mean, if you're not already, I don't know what you're doing. And then, of course, hit that notification bell because so that way you never miss a session. And then check out the poll in the chat. Every week, we ask you if you're first time or if you're a returner, because we're very interested in know how many of you, if this is your first time. As we continue to build out our infrastructure and as we get our teams developed, eventually, I want to do something special for our first time folk every time. So that's just me kind of geeking out a little bit. And then support, join, or connect in any way that makes sense to you. Because it's really your engagement that keeps this community thriving. So if you find this community and these conversations valuable, just take a second to share the stream. I promise you there's someone out there who really needs some secular community, who's looking for real connections, and your simple share might be the lifeline that they didn't even know they needed. And of course, if you did share this, let us know in the chat by typing "I shared this." Let us know if you shared this. Let us know in the chat by typing "I shared this." Thank you, Muttley. All right, let's get into it. Again, welcome to Bridge City.
Okay, you guys, I must be on. Let's see. It's Sunday, and it is, yes, it's spring forward. We all lost an hour, and I feel a little bit tired this morning for some reason. I am Dr. Troy Stober, and I host a podcast called The Deepest Hell Podcast, and it's all about how religion harms kids. I'm a pediatrician from Portland, Oregon. I got the Bridge City news, and we are going to keep you in the know and plugged in to all the things happening in our community. First things first, I know it's been said before, and every segment is going to say this also because I've been reading this whole thing. Whether you're new here or you've been rocking with us for a while, drop a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. One of our biggest goals is to identify local hubs of support so we can keep expanding our mission of building community beyond superstition, and that starts with you. I have a surprise. I have visual aids. See? Can you see this? Bridge City Weekends. See, this is high tech. I worked at least 20 seconds to make that visual aid. So I just want everybody to see that. That is the Gut Sick Gibbon Memorial Whiteboard. In case anybody is wondering from my podcast, maybe they wonder where I get my whiteboards from. But anyway, I'm inspired by Miss Gibbon herself. Okay, guys, Bridge City Weekends. Don't want to go too far over the budget on our visual aids. Okay. Exciting news. After weeks of recalibrating, we've pulled together our new strategy for launching Bridge City Weekends, our aim to establish local communities based on the Bridge City model. Instead of just hosting one-time events, we're creating a sustainable movement by growing a local interest list in target cities. We're going to host monthly online meetups with local members and organize weekly match parties to build community and a core team. We're hoping to build toward an epic Bridge City Weekends event to launch the official campus. How can you help? That's a great question. In the chat, we're going to sign a link. We're going to leave a link there for you to invite you to sign up, share this with your networks. Let's get the word out. I know on every segment they say, tell us where you're from, tell if it's your first time here, and make sure you're sharing. So I figured I would just blend in and it would all be white noise. So I'm not even going to say that. In the chat, you'll find the Bridge City Weekends sign up link. Tonight, we're back with part 2 of the Content Creator Masterclass with Dragons and Genesis. If you've ever wanted to build your platform, grow your audience, or just get the inside scoop on what it takes to thrive as a content creator, this is for you. Live at 5 p.m. Central. By the way, that's an hour off if you still haven't adjusted your clock. Pull up, engage, and let's talk strategy, creativity, and making an impact. Also, have you ever wondered what happens when a former pastor takes a critical and humorous look at the Bible? Well, Bible study with an ex-pastor isn't your typical Bible study. We dive deep. We ask the hard questions, challenging old beliefs, and we laugh at the BS. No sugarcoating, no dodging. We don't turn ourselves into pretzels. We don't do a song and dance. We don't tippity-tap dance around. We don't basket weave. If you've never joined us, now is the time. Don't just hear about it later. Be there live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central. Check your clock. Ooh, another visual aid. New products alert. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. Hopefully you like my visual. That took at least 15 seconds to make. So new products alert, new digital downloads available now. Share in the chat. You're going to see a little link where you can get mobile wallpapers, 30-day digital journeys, guided audio meditations. Shop now to your heart's consent. Shop now to your heart's consent. And we're going to put that link right in the chat. Click on it, spend some money, get some merch, and don't make me get my visual aid back out. Okay, did you know that our sister network, the Daily Atheist Media Network, hosts a morning meeting that's filled with engaging people and people-centric conversation? If you're looking for a lighthearted good time with 3 of the coolest atheists you may ever know, then it's a great time to grab a cup of joe and join the Daily Atheist Morning Show. We're going to put that link in the chat as well. The youtube.com website is going to bring you to the Damn Show homepage. Check that out each morning. You might see one of your favorite ex-pastors making an appearance on that show. Okay. After today's show, don't rush off. Every Sunday, we host a pre-session meet and greet and a post-session hangout on Discord. Whether you want to dive deeper into discussions or just chill and connect, this is the spot. We got another link coming. There's a lot of links. Make sure you click on the right link. Okay, we want our community to be featured. Oh, do you want your community to be featured in Bridge City News? Drop your announcement in our hashtag Promote Stuff channel on Discord with the hashtag Bridge City News. Okay, that's enough torture for one day. Before we roll on to the next segment, let me give you a quick reminder. Stick around till the end to catch the credits and see just how many amazing people work behind the scenes to make this all possible. That's it for this edition of Bridge City News, sponsored by the Deep as Hell podcast and your host, Dr. Troy Stober. I'll see you in the chat. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, keep building beyond superstition.
Happy to be here, finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year, so glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too, happy to be with you. Glad that you made it through, I saw what you made it through. I'm happy to be here, I'm finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year, so glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too, so happy to be with you. So glad that you made it through, I saw what you made it through. I don't know if you hear it enough, but I want you to know that this song is about you. I'm singing you more than enough. If you looked at yourself, you would be fucking proud of you. You're that weight off your chest, let it go, let it flow. Let it roll off your shoulders. Don't be scared to be loud, to be proud, to be bold, to be more than they told ya. It's like jumping out of airplanes and swimming with the sharks. That existential feeling when you're staring at the stars. There's a hurricane in my head, but the lightning in my heart makes it worth it. Yeah, I still get nervous when you dropped in the stream and you checked out this alive, and it feels like the very first time. I can build with you forever, I am certain. Yeah. 'Cause I still get nervous when we all get the point and the fireworks fly, sending sparks through the air like the 4th of July. I can build with you forever, I am certain. 'Cause I still get nervous. So happy to be here. I'm finally living with no fear. I'm living my best year. So glad I didn't give up in last year. I'm happy that you're here too. So happy to be with you. Glad that you made it through. I saw what you made it through. I don't know if you hear it enough, but I want you to know that this song is about you. I'm singing you more than enough. If you looked at yourself, you would be fucking proud of you. Get that weight off your chest, let it go, let it flow. Let it roll off your shoulders. Don't be scared to be loud, to be proud, to be bold, to be more than they told ya. It's like flying in the fast lane, no headlights in the dark. That existential feeling makes you wonder who you are. There's a wild wind in my head, but the butterflies in my heart makes it worth it. 'Cause I still get nervous when you drop in the stream and you check out this life, and it feels like the very first time. I can build with you forever, I am certain. Hey, 'cause I still get nervous when we all get the point and the fireworks fly, sending sparks through the air like the 4th of July. I can build with you forever, I am certain, yeah. 'Cause I still get nervous, yeah. Hey, 'cause I still get nervous, yeah. Oh, 'cause I still get nervous. 'Cause I still get nervous. 'Cause I still get nervous. Oh, still get nervous when you drop in the stream and you check out this line, and it feels like the very first time. I can fall with you forever, I am certain. 'Cause I still get nervous when we all get the point and the fireworks fly, sending sparks through the air like the 4th of July. I can build with you forever, I am certain. Yeah, 'cause I still get nervous. 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 Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that today. Man, that's, oh my goodness. I enjoyed that. I cannot wait. Like, this is one of the reasons I am absolutely excited about Bridge City Weekends,
and about being able to be in person so we can start building these experiences.
Drums
man.
in the back.
Oh man, I hear the drums, the bass line, like, oh my goodness. And then like, oh my goodness. And just from a musical side, I'd be wanting to geek out because like there's so many different songs that have those chords. Oh, we got a super sticker from Ryan Coltastic. Thank you. 99. I love it. That's my lucky number. Now let me stop. Thank you so much, Ryan Coltastic, which of course, remember, y'all join us tomorrow on the Daily Atheist Morning Show. But this is why I cannot wait. I cannot wait till we're all together to have this stuff live. And man, just that song I pulled together yesterday, and half of those words are not mine. Half of those words are John Legend's from a song that he has called Nervous. And I just took some of his words and threw them in with this other song that I wrote yesterday. And if we had a full band of some singers, could have went into Change Genuine at the end. My whole life has changed. Go into that. Amen. So there's all different types of things, and that is a part of the Bridge City model is music and conversation. Like that, to me, that's one of the easiest ways to build solid. To build the building blocks of communities, just music and conversation. And so I love it. Thank you all for your kind words and all of that beautiful stuff. But I am so sure that there are more people in this community who can sing, more people in this community who write poetry, more people in this community who do all types of different art and art forms, styles, performance. I know we have some musicians that I'm waiting to get together. And the truth of the matter is, for everything, we don't have to wait till we're in the same room. We do live in an age of technology, so we can use these things to our advantage, man. So this is absolutely beautiful. Are y'all ready for this conversation today? I hope y'all are ready. We're going to do our best we're trying to work through these internet gremlins. I'm monitoring the feed. It looks like it's okay. It looks a little blurry over here, but I ain't mad at it.
We're going to push it on through. Okay.
So let's jump into this. We've been in this conversation now for 3 weeks. This is our third week of talking through the looking glass. Last week, we talked about this kind of mirror madness. And so today we're going to take a little different approach, still in the same conversation, but I think this is going to be good. There's an old fable about a man lost in the desert. Days pass, his water runs out, his lips crack, his legs weaken. He's surrounded by nothing but endless and shifting sand. And every time he thinks that he has found his way, he looks around and notices that the wind has erased his footsteps. No trace of where he came from, no certainty of where he's going. And that's when it hits him, time is doing the same thing to him. You see, time is like sand. It moves, reshapes, and erases. It buries some things, uncovers others. It shifts us, whether we realize it or not. So let me ask you something. Who are you beneath the sands of time? Because if we're honest, we don't always know. We're shaped by the years that came before us, by traditions we didn't choose, by histories that weren't written by us, but still weigh on our backs. And here's the real question. Are we surviving the sands or sinking in them? Are we consciously shaping our own lives, or are we just being swept along? Are we carving our own path or letting time erase us before we ever leave a mark? Because time is, in that way, relentless. It moves with or without us. Yeah. Time marches on. But the one who survives the sands, the one who truly lives, they don't just let time shape them. They learn how to shape their time. And that's what we're talking about today. How do we survive the sands? How do we break free from what was and step boldly into what could be? I can remember, and I'm going off script just for a little moment here. I can remember a specific moment in my own journey. And this was just a few years ago where because we were in this house and I was sitting on the couch in our bedroom and I said, I think I have been treating the world as it should be, as opposed to responding to it as it is.
Right.
And that doesn't sound bad, right? When you say, you should treat the world as it should be. Okay. Here's the problem. Because of my deconversion, things like should be went out the window with the other superstitions.
Yeah.
Because in order for there to be a should be, for me, and we can talk about what we should be, but that's going to be incredibly subjective. In order for there to be an objective should be, there'd have to be a predefined plan. When my idea of God went out the window, any form of predestination went out the window. Therefore, any form of predefined anything was gone. And so then there was no utility for should, what the world should be. Who decides that? Who made that decision? How did you come to that? And so I realized that I had been treating the world, responding to the world, and I'm teaching better than y'all responding. Now let me stop. But responding to the world according to my superstition of should. That's a whole book right there. The superstition of should. This is the way people should treat me. This is the way things should work out. This is the way the world should operate. And I was trying to work with the world that way, but I wasn't navigating the world as it was. And what the most powerful thing about that for me was, though, is once I let go of should be, I put myself in a driver's seat for could be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, now I don't know how many of y'all come from old black churches, but the old black church, there's a saying that the old ladies, the old mothers of the church used to say, and they just say, I'm gonna run on to see what the end gonna be. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna run on to see what the end gonna be. And so when I let go of should be, I start trying to figure out what could be, And so, and a major part of this conversation is, how do we break free from what we thought should be and step boldly into what could be? So let's get into it. If you're ready for this conversation, will you go ahead and drop some sand icons in the chat? Like, I'm interested to see what this is going to look like, but would you drop some sand icons in the chat and let somebody know that we're surviving the sands at Bridge City, man? Just drop them sand icons and let them know we're surviving. We're surviving the sand. I won't be shaped by it. Oh, damn, now I got to go back to an old Christian song. I'm pressed but not cursed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. I love it. I love the sand icons. That is, man,
that's
y'all
the
are
one
awesome.
you were talking about. I'm thinking of
I didn't know what it was going to be. So I'm loving it. I love the sandwich. Yes. Sand. So you got to have the sand icon, which the sand icon is the pillar of sand. It's like the pillar of salt. And then Lot's wife got turned into a pillar of salt, and you put salt on the sandwich. You see how I did that? I connected it.
Giving you time. How much time?
Come on. How much time? You know what I'm saying? That's, I don't know. Every time I think of the sand in the glass, I always think of Aladdin. Do y'all remember the Aladdin movie where he was wrestling? Which, man, damn it, now that I think about it, that was a missed opportunity. So for everybody who's going to be on the creative team at Bridge City one day, you're going to be a part of the multimedia team. I want you to remember that, because that could have been excellent for the graphics with somebody drowning in the sand of time, surviving the sand. It's almost like Days of Our Lives type of soap opera. Damn, now it could have been a soap opera. Are you surviving the sands of time?
Little clip off.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And so just as landscapes are eroded and reshaped by sandstorms, people's identities and self-perceptions, how they look at themselves, are molded by the histories they inherit, right?
Yes.
Some ideas stand the test of time, while others are gradually worn away. And some ideas you be like, hey, this don't need to stand the test of time. This needs to go.
Yes. Yes.
And so we're going to look into how the influence of religion and spirituality, what it has on our self-perception. And so when you look at religious frameworks, they kind of help to shape a person's purpose, belief, identity, role in the world in profound ways. And after influencing how they see themselves, how they interact with others, what they believe they are meant to do, which I still hear today. And you wouldn't believe how many people get stuck on, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. God didn't tell me yet. And it's like, listen, you got so much you can do. Pick one, okay? Learn the skill.
Oh, man.
No. But we really get stuck there. And so we're going to dive a little bit into that and see how these frameworks can act as both the foundation for meaning and a limitation on individual autonomy, and dependent on their context and interpretation of that.
I love it. I love it. And this idea of purpose is so big, especially in the church construct, especially in the contemporary urban megachurch spaces. Many of the people who are unclear about whether or not there is or is not a God, or whether or not their religion is accurate or not accurate, many of them are tied in not because of the theology, not because of the doctrine, not because of any of the experiences, but they're tied in because of this idea of purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, and this is, again, this is a little off script, but if you get about 50 urban pastors in a room, what you will discover is that most of them don't have any clarity on their theology. Yeah. Most of them don't have any clarity on their doctrine. And many of them in a safe environment will readily admit that I'm not sure if God is there, or I'm not sure of this, but I just want to make sure that I'm in purpose. It's very strong language. Even when I was deconverting, that was one of the things that my mentor kept saying to me. That's how he got me to end up take that position at The Rock. Well, I just don't want you to be out of purpose. Yeah. I know you're struggling with your faith right now, but I just don't want you to be out of purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so that purpose idea is very big. So let's kind of hit that a little bit. And we're starting, for those of you who are just coming in, and again, I can't wait till we're building this out in local places, because these conversations, this is great. Online, global, this is great. But I cannot wait till we're having these conversations in real rooms, so we can get to some meat of some real questions and some real explorations. But at this moment, we're talking about how we've all been shaped by time, right? And in this sense, we're dealing with the religious aspect, the time we've spent in religion. So religious belief systems often provide predefined narratives. That's kind of what I talked about earlier, that should be versus could be. Much discrimination that has existed, at least in the U.S. and I'm not saying not in other places. I say at least in the U.S. because I have a good enough point of reference to feel like I can speak to it. But much of the discrimination that we've seen in the U.S. is based on somebody else's idea of should be. You know what I'm saying? Damn, this is good, man. It's based on, you should be this way. You should not. It's based on somebody else's should be, because that's what religion tends to offer. This is why, even if you scroll through some of my comments, people will say things like, well, if you don't believe in God, where do you think the universe came from? Now, one of these things is not like the other. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But what that is, that this manifestation of what religion gives me is a predefined narrative about human existence that I don't have to have any responsibility of researching or understanding myself. It gives me a script to run from. And so one of the things, damn, this is good. And so one of the things that I encourage people who have deconverted is that even when you've gotten rid of the religion, make sure you're still not running off the scripts, right? Yeah. And it's some of us, I think if we'll be honest, we'll look around and notice that, damn, even after deconversion, we still had much of that religious ideology, man. So religious belief systems often provide those predefined narratives that help people answer, what is my purpose? Oh man, we got another super chat. I'm loving it, y'all. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love about this community. And this is from Native Atheist, $10, beautiful. Keep it 100, Darante. Oh man, I love that. Thank you, man. That's beautiful. This is how we grow, man. This is how we keep building better. This is how we keep building stronger. Thank you to everybody out there who has given and who supported this movement. This is beautiful. So let's kind of talk about this. Let's talk about that divinely ordained purpose. So this is what you should be in life. Many religions teach that people exist to fulfill a specific purpose given by a deity. And I want y'all to notice, like, and this is what I mean about that scripting, right? Like for me, it was appropriateness, right? So I deconstructed Deconverted, God was bullshit, easy. Angels, bullshit. Prophecy, bullshit. All of that, gone. Appropriateness, that was hard to separate myself from. What is appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Watch this. Here we go. This might make some of your butt clench a little bit. But what's appropriate to wear in public, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Appropriateness. This is, oh man, I started wrestling with like, ooh, how much of my ideas of appropriateness are based in this pre-made script, not actually based in my understanding of what should or shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is good. So anyway, many religions teach that people exist to fulfill a specific purpose given by a deity.
And you know what? From that, if someone feels like, oh, the purpose wasn't given by God or you didn't hear from God,
Yes.
they devalue
Oh,
certain
absolutely.
roles, right?
Oh yeah, God didn't tell you to do that.
Uh-huh.
If God didn't,
They don't value.
but see, like, and that's the dehumanizing aspect of religion that I often speak to. That people often like that even atheists often overlook how dehumanizing that is. But that's exactly what you're doing. You're telling somebody, if your imaginary friend doesn't approve of what you do, you're never going to be successful. Everything you do is gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it looks like we got another super chat. Experiments in chemistry, $5. If mind-body dualism is false, then God does not exist, period. The problem is that theists won't accept defeat. That is so true. They will not, because they are holding on to that security blanket like Never Neverland. I was going to make a Michael Jackson joke, but I decided to leave it alone.
And I notice when you get back and forth with people who aren't really thinking or using reasoning, they come down to the last point, which is, oh, well, you got to keep the faith. You just lost your faith.
Yeah.
It always comes to the faith portion.
Yeah, like, well, I mean,
none of it's true. Yeah, we can't verify, but you got to keep the faith.
That's it. This is one of the reasons, and y'all know I've said it. I draw no qualms about it. I don't argue with theists. The moment I know that you sincerely believe you have an imaginary friend, conversation is over. Like that, no, we're not about to do that. I'm not about to play that game with you. Like, you know, I wouldn't do it with nobody else. If somebody was trying to convince me that leprechauns were existed, and if I'd followed them to the end of the rainbow, I'd find a fucking pot of gold, I wouldn't take that person seriously. I wouldn't treat them like they're saying something that could possibly be true. So I don't do that for believers either. And that's absolutely right, Dr. Troy. I like that. You can't reason a person out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into. And I think when we did our mind change exploration, or Lucky Charms, right? When we did our mind change conversation, that was one of the things we slipped up on. You know, that by far and large, people change their minds when they feel safe. It's something about it's either safe or unsafe. They feel like they have to make a change. And so I don't even bear the burden of trying to change anybody's mind.
Yeah.
It's not even my goal. It's not like what I bear the burden of, and we're back on purpose. What I bear the burden of, what I purposed myself to do, what I've assigned myself to do. And I love self-assigned purpose. Sad. You know, some people got WAP, we got SOP, self-assigned purpose. But what myself is what I purpose to do. No, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I wouldn't waste my time. You know, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but damn, that was good. But no, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. Instead, I'm trying to create safe spaces for people who are already looking for something different. I'm trying to create safe spaces for people who are already asking questions. I'm trying to create community that's ready for people who are not asking questions today, but will be asking questions tomorrow. And they'll have somewhere to show up to, right?
So you saying the doors are open?
The doors are open. That's it. Whoever will come, let them come. But I'm not chasing nobody down. I'm not showing up in any Christian's comments. I'm not showing up at any church. I'm not showing up in any live stream saying, hey, y'all are stupid. Y'all delusional. Why y'all worshiping death? Why is everybody so excited about blood? Ooh, y'all are weird as fuck. I'm not doing any of that, you know? That would be so not worth my time. Now, there are other people who might do that. It's all good for them. But as for me, You know, I've purposed myself to be a community developer, to create community, to develop spaces that can finally be a safe space. And that was a part of me self-assigning my own purpose, deciding what I wanted to do with my time. There it is, we talking about time, deciding what I wanted to do with my time, deciding what I wanted to do with my life. Many times people struggle because there are people who have deconverted and are still trying to, watch this, find their purpose. There are people who are deconverted and are still waiting for signs about what their purpose is, because there is this ideology that purpose is something that is external. In other words, there is something that you should be. But in my estimation, should demands a predefinition. If there's something that you should be, then there's a prototype. You got to have something to look like. And you are the first of you. There is no you that came before you. There is no should be. It's what you could be. It's what you can be. It's what you want to be. It's what you're willing to be. It's what you're willing to do. But this is in many times what religion has robbed people of, because what it has given people is a should be. This is what you should be. And if you're not this, because that's what should does, if you're not this, you've missed the mark. So if God wanted you to be a preacher and you chose to be an actor, you should have been a preacher, therefore you are wrong. That's the trap that people get into. Wow, what if God wanted me to be a football player, but I wanted to help children? You know what I'm saying? It's that idea of should be. And every time I hear people say, I'm like, where are you pulling that from? Especially in order to impose on yourself or anybody else in any type of manner. You know what I'm saying? Dang, that's so good. So, for example, in Christianity, there's the Great Commission, which calls believers to evangelize. You know, Hinduism's Dharma emphasizes duty and righteousness. You know,
and how do you measure righteousness?
Oh man, most people can't even define it. You know, because it all ends up being based on this should be that's been predetermined and yet cannot be defined. And I'm like, well, how is it predetermined and yet not defined? My goodness. Did we get another super chat? This community is awesome. Thank you, Monkey at Typewriter. $10. Part of the value of spaces like this is having one's options open is it's often terrifying. You can do anything often sounds like you better choose the right thing the first time here. Oh man, love y'all. First time here. That is awesome. Thank you so much. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Man. All right, so we're about to get deeper. Another thing that religion often inflicts people with, because again, what we're talking about is how we've been shaped by these things, because we've spent time in these things, right? Another one is suffering as struggle, suffering and struggle as purpose, right? So some religious traditions reframe suffering as a meaningful journey toward enlightenment, towards salvation or growth, so even Buddhism has the Four Noble Truths, which teach that suffering is a part of life and overcoming it leads to enlightenment. So I want to talk about we want to talk about the psychological impact of the religious ideation of struggle.
Yeah, and so we see that many religious traditions kind of glorify and magnify suffering as a path of virtue. But this has long-term effects on how people view hardship, success, and personal worth. Even after leaving religion, these internalized ideas often linger. Just think about the suffering of Christ. It's almost to me like you have to go through it is crazy to me, because if he suffered and dealt with all the sins of everybody, then why is it still suffering? And then people point at people for sins and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make sense.
Like many times, even in churches, if you're going through something, let's say you're going through something and people in the church are talking about you and spreading rumors and gossiping, and you try to go get solace from, one of the ministers or elder people in the church, many times they'll say something to you like, well, they talked about Jesus. Like that's supposed to make it feel better. So just imagine being at school and somebody's talking about you, calling you names, and you go tell your teacher, and your teacher says, well, they talked about Johnny. And it's like, what the fuck that got to do with me? I'm talking about me right now. But like that's how bad that ideation becomes, that it becomes, and the pathology becomes that if you're struggling, you should be happy, because that means you're like Jesus. If you're being persecuted, you should be happy. Count it all joy when all manner of men say all manner of evil against you. That becomes the idea to take delight, to take pleasure in being less than, and being abused and struggling and suffering, because by doing so, you are being as close to Jesus as you possibly can. I like that, John.
And that's why I can understand how Dr. James Cone, he got into the realization that Jesus failed.
Oh, yeah.
Because you couldn't, you were supposed to win and you rose again and all this, but yet you still have to struggle and go through this. And so
man. Okay, so watch this. Damn it. Okay, so by all accounts, Jesus was a failure. By all scriptural accounts, by all biblical accounts. What baby girl just referenced is Dr. James Cone. He was a Black liberation minister, who exceptionally phenomenal man. But he did this infamous speech where he said Jesus was a failure, and it was just beautiful. And he walked through. He was a Christian. But he walked it through. Now, what we're talking about is this pathology of ideation that often comes from this religious afterbirth with struggle and with suffering. But now, for the first time, I can see a correlation that I've never seen before, as why Christians would feel the need to attach to the struggle aspect, even though this aspect is the failure. I don't know how many of y'all have ever watched Blackish. I wasn't a big fan of the show, I'll be honest. But I did watch it a few times. It had some of my favorite actors in it, so I had to watch it a few times. I actually watched it more than a few times. I just wasn't a big fan, But they had an episode where Lawrence Fishburne's character, who's the grandpa or whatnot, they're talking about how he raised them for Christmas. And every Christmas, they would eat church's chicken, Yeah. And so they grew up believing, that church's chicken was his favorite chicken, because he would eat it, because they would eat it every Christmas. And every Christmas they'd eat it, he'd make a big deal out of the church's chicken and how good it was and how happy it was that they were eating this church's chicken instead of turkey, ham, collard greens, yams, potatoes, rice, peas, cabbages. Instead of eating all that, he made these church's chicken and these biscuits and these maybe Cajun rice, I think. He made this seem like the biggest deal in the world. And so they grew up thinking that, oh man, he really loved church's chicken more than he loved this. And so one day when he's older, they do something for him and they bring him church's chicken. He's like, what is this? You know what I mean? You make way too much money to be bringing me church's chicken. What is this? And what it was is that he was so embarrassed about being a failure as a provider and not being able to afford what other people could provide theirs, that he hyped up his perceived failure. He masked what this was for them. And now the church's association with Jesus' failure seemed the same way. That attachment to struggle is like that attachment to church's chicken. You know what I'm saying? It's not something you really like. It's not something that you really love. It's not something that you're really excited about. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you have to force yourself to like because you know this is the best that can be done right now. That was these people coping with Jesus' failure. God damn, that's good.
And you see how people internalize struggle as a measure of worth when you're coming from that religious background. And so what it means is that hardship, if I'm going through something over and over again, or if I'm continue to struggle and have pain, then I'm doing something right. So you have some former believers still equate struggle with moral superiority or fear that they are taking the easy way out if life becomes comfortable.
I want to jump in right there real quick, and I want to show you how that can lead to how that can contribute to generational poverty, and I can use my own familial background for that. The majority of the men in my family, would fall into this category, not from a religious standpoint, but it is that religious afterbirth. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah, it is that religious afterbirth where hardship means I'm doing something right. Okay, hardship means I'm doing something right. Watch this, which means it's not work unless it's hard. It's not work unless it's labor intensive. It's not work. Do you see what I'm saying? And so now what does that do? Right? So anybody in my family, for the most part, who was interested in working with things like computers or working in things like maybe corporate management, they were considered not real men because you're not doing real work. And that is that focus, that internalized pathology of struggle, that man is cursed to work by the sweat of his brow. And so any way of you trying to avoid that is you trying to get away from God's discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like hardship, if it's not hard for me to do, then I'm not doing something right.
Man, and that is expressed in our organizations from school, high school, all the way to college and passed on, right? Because it's that belief. I gotta put you through. If you're gonna join us, or if you're gonna be, I gotta put you through this pain and struggle because that's what we had to go through. So that's the only way you can actually get past the point.
Oh my goodness! Like, and I mean, you think about how closely that goes to the words of Jesus himself. Where, in the narratives that are in the literature, that, in order to follow me, you got to take up your cross, and so I know I can speak as a former pastor. Many pastors absolutely abuse the hell out of people who came up under them because they felt the need, like fraternities and sororities. We were talking about that last night, because they felt the need to punish people to prove them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, and this is why, like, I've always been an outcast. Like, I couldn't get into all of the preacher circles because I'm like, no, I'm not going to let you just treat me any kind of way. I'm not going to let you do anything to me. This is why I didn't join fraternities. You'd be surprised at how many Black pastors are also in fraternities. I'm not saying, not making any leaps there. I'm just saying you'd be surprised. There is a correlation, especially among Kappas. Among Kappas, but yeah, okay. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. And other psychological impacts that we see is the martyr mindset, where a person may feel guilty about seeking personal joy, success, and subconsciously believing that they must earn happiness through struggle, like in order to be happy. And it's almost like which some people would call sin now, even if it's the simple things. If I go out and do anything, remember you tease people on Saturday, like, oh, they going to serve the world, and then they come back Sunday to try to make the church. But it could be just enjoying life, is not harming anyone else, but we get stuck there. And I feel like people can play both sides.
Oh yeah. Well, I know that because there's two things there. You can develop the martyr mindset, and there's obviously more than two things, but you can develop martyr mindset and survivor's remorse. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you feel guilty about your personal joy, and so then you won't even allow yourself to enjoy where you are. Because again, it needs to be church's chicken. God wants me to have church's chicken. God needs me to be struggling. And if I'm not struggling, and I mean, literally, oh my goodness, this just took me back to where I spent like a lot of my teenage years as a revivalist. If I'm not struggling, that means the devil isn't mad at me. Mm-hmm. If I'm not struggling, that means hell isn't trying to stop me. Yeah. If I'm not struggling, like this is we had adopted like that pathology. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Miss Teach.
Miss Teach, $9.99. Thank you so much. We love you. Again, y'all, this is what we love about this community. For those of you who are looking for ways to support this experience, to support this community, and let's bring this thing out and help it grow, this is a perfect time for you to check out our Patreon, for you to check out all of that other stuff. I just had to say that. Thank you so much, Miss Teach. Thank you all for giving, man. We have so many wonderful supporters. I'm just always amazed.
We appreciate you. But you know what? That also made me think of growing up, surrounded by culturally traditional Christians in the Black experience. And I always I would smile a lot and be happy, and that was like an internal talk to myself. It's like, never let someone get you down. I'm going to be pepped up. But I always would get the question, like, why you always smiling? Mm-hmm. Even if something is going wrong, like my mindset was like, I'll work it out. I'll figure it out. I'll brush things off my shoulder and everything. But that started to dwindle as I got older. And I will always get that question, though. Why are you always smiling? I'm like, wouldn't you want me to smile? Yeah. And these are the people I go to church with. Yep. I'm like, don't you want me to be happy?
Misery loves company.
Yeah. It's like,
misery loves company.
I never got that. But anyway, so we also see fear of ease and the prosperity guilt. So if life is too good, I must be doing something wrong. Some deconstructed believers struggle with allowing themselves to experience peace or success without attaching it to divine or favor or testing. And if something is going well, you always had to say, oh God, I got God's favor, or I'm blessed in highly favor. You always had to throw it and attribute it to something else other than yourself and the efforts you put in daily, yearly to get where you are. Then you also see survivor's guilt, like you mentioned, where ex-religious individuals may feel guilty for escaping religious oppressions with their friends, family, who are still struggling. So sometimes we see that as well.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Like when you think about someone commented on one of my videos recently and reminded me of a Winans song. And I had actually never heard the song from the Winans, but I've heard so many pastors reference this. Now, many of you know, like my church trajectory was very different. Started in the Pentecostal holiness churches, which are super duper Black. And then I fully shifted to the more charismatic Word of Faith churches, which were predominantly white with a few Black folk sprinkled through there growing up. And those were like Creflos and the Brazeltons and things of that nature. And of course, what's my boy out of California who's dead now, Casey Price. So, I was in that mode. And then I came full circle to the more urban Black mega churches. And that was a whole different type of situation. But you'd hear this a lot from preachers. And it was a song, millions didn't make it, but I was one of the ones who did. And it was something that was spoken of a lot. Millions didn't make it, but I was one of the ones who did. And a lot of times, and of course, what you're saying is millions woke up dead this morning. Okay, millions of people did not wake up. God decided not to let them live, but He decided to let me live, and I'm going to be so happy about it. I now find that type of thinking to be absolutely disgusting. And like, I don't want to be near people who think like that. I can't even be honest. Like I can't even lie about it. It's bad. But that we sometimes do the same things. And this isn't a struggle for everybody, but if it is your struggle, I'd be interested to know how many of you wrestle with that guilt, especially if you have family members who are still tied into religious ideology. How many of you wrestle with that guilt, especially if you were like me, one of those people who was responsible for pulling them deeper into religious ideology, pulling them deep, like there are people who I try to talk to today about trying to come over to the side of critical thinking, and they're gonna remind me, well, you were the one who prayed for me to be filled with the Holy Ghost. You were the one that prayed for my, so there are people who struggle with the guilt of just making it out, and then that struggle is compounded by the isolation of being out. So I'm struggling because I'm not there anymore, and I'm not doing that, and they're stuck, and damn it, I kind of help them get there, but for my peace of mind, I can't even engage conversations with them. But then also I'm struggling. Yikes. I'm struggling because I am isolated as well, man. Yeah. Yes. That disgust, disappointment, hopelessness, man. Yes. Ooh. So, oh man. So this is good. So, and an example of this, a former devout Christian raised to believe God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, may struggle with accepting rest, therapy, or financial stability without feeling they're weak or abandoning their faith or their values. And that's actually where I lived for years. I lived believing that financial stability would be an offense to the purity of my anointing and what God wanted from my life. And so I used to be like proudly saying with kids, y'all, I used to be like proudly saying that if I never make a dime, I'll serve you, Lord. Well, like that's slavery is what that is. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna say it one more time. If I never get paid, I'll work for fucking free. That's what that is. That's slavery. And I'd signed myself up to that. Up for that. Like there were the things I used to comfort myself with, that God's grace, God's presence will never lead you, where his grace will not protect you. And I remember one day in the middle of my deconstruction thinking like, but the apostles died, and they were led to die. Like Jesus literally told some of them, you gonna die. He led them to their death. So it's like, no, it seems like the one thing that the Spirit of God is really good at is leading motherfuckers to their death. Hallelujah. Blessed be. I'm sorry. All right. So, but I definitely lived there, where it was like, nope, this battle is supposed to be tough. Again, if it's not tough, that means I'm not doing it right. If it's not tough, that means I'm not a threat to the kingdom of darkness. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yikes. Which now, mind you, I am not trying to say that everything should be easy. I'm completely averse to that type of ideology. But I'm more, I guess, I'm a realist in all things. Just do the fucking math. This is literally what I tell everybody. Oh man, I'm not getting financial advice right now, but do the math. All right. So another thing that this does, and this one, all right, but's about to get clenched tight again. This is also the villainization of wealth and success. Many religious traditions teach that wealth is spiritually dangerous. So even after deconstructing, people often retain those deep-seated biases about money, success, or self-worth. Wealth then becomes a corrupting force. For Christianity, you have things like it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. And for so many people to claim that they know what this scripture means or that it even has any relevance, while ironically having so many different interpretations on what the fuck an eye of the needle is. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard plenty. Then there's also other religions that have the idea of the attachment to material wealth leads to suffering. Or even the idea, so, it's out there. So even after leaving religion, people often struggle with feeling guilty about financial success or charging for their skills. That's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I know plenty of people that are wrestling with it. I think we did the 10K fundraiser. And I think Patty may have mentioned that with a new business she started. But people feel guilty about that. And again, that was something that I had to wrestle with. I deconverted in 2014. It wasn't until 2017 where I started realizing, like, damn, I have a lot of superstitions about money. I have a lot of superstitions about wealth. I had a lot of superstitions about support. I had a lot of superstitions. Oh,
and
my
that goes
goodness.
back to should I charge?
Yep.
Should I not charge? What should I do?
Oh, yeah.
Go back to that should.
Absolutely. And so, and then just even like subconsciously viewing rich people as immoral or exploitative, or believing that financial struggle equates with authenticity or virtue. You know, would you see that is something that I've become, you know, that I'm always paying attention to. This is one of the reasons I don't like the way we use labels. You know, labels are descriptive, but they're not definitive. And we tend to use labels as if they're definitive. And so sometimes that leads us to make false associations. And those false associations mean typically if you are wealthy, then you must be entitled. Mm-hmm. And if you are poor, then you must be a hard worker.
Then you must be right.
And I'm like, no, logic doesn't work that way. So let's not do that. But those are some struggles that many of us, even after deconverting, still have and are still having to wrestle with. And so then it also comes into the poverty mindset and self-sabotage, where you have the unconscious avoidance of financial success due to religious conditioning. One of the things that I do with myself now is just whatever it is that I'm feeling tense about, that I'm having a trigger reaction to, I'm going to process it. I need to ask myself why. You know, why am I uncomfortable with this? Because like I spent my entire time as a pastor trying to be so far the opposite of what so many other pastors got labeled of, that I put myself through the ringer, man.
Yeah.
I put myself through, oh my goodness, so much, because I was trying not to be Creflo. I was trying not to be, and then, to me, Creflo wasn't even the worst one. I was trying not to be these local pulpit pimps who had members paying for their watches. I remember my members bought me some Jordans one time, and I about had a fit. Yeah. Two reasons. Number one, I don't fucking like Jordans.
Yeah, you always said that.
I'm not a name brand person. Mm-hmm. To me, like, okay, I know this is gonna offend somebody. I find it to be completely asinine to pay $200 for shoes.
Yeah.
I find like, oh my goodness. Now, like, if you just rolling in the dough like that, fine. But like, so I was actually not happy with that at all, because I'm like,
because you know how much it went into that.
Absolutely, yes.
And you need.
And then also, it also just demonstrated that you're completely overlooking who I am and the way that I approach life, which was a real struggle as a pastor, And this is something I want y'all to be mindful of, because here it was, I was this pastor that was doing my best just to be me, not to try to lean into this other stuff. And my members were constantly trying to shape me into what they thought a successful pastor should look like. Oh, y'all ain't ready for that conversation.
Image. You have to have.
Yeah, that's it. That brand fetishism. Yes, like it was. Oh, we want you to wear this, pastor. Well, the other pastor wear this. Well, you know, pastor, the other pastors, they drive this, and it's like, holy snap. No. Am I valued because of what I wear, or am I valued because of who I am? I'm completely averse to stuff like that. Very, man. Oh my goodness. Thank you, man. I love y'all so much. Y'all are beautiful. So we'll struggle with that again. And I still struggle with things today along these lines. But then, you know, struggle with asking for money or negotiating salaries because you associate humility with poverty. And I did. My poverty was keeping me humble, and my humility was a virtue. So therefore my poverty was a virtue. It was my poverty that was keeping me down to earth. It was my poverty that made me so nice. Because that's how I was taught in the Black community that I grew up in, is poverty is equated with being nice. Poor people are nice. Like, it's just, like, oh my goodness. In my particular community, in the area I grew up in, it was like being poor and dumb were like the most honorable things you could do, because being rich and smart was automatically wicked. If you're rich and you're smart, you are wicked. But if you are poor and dumb and nice, you are the greatest person in the world, and you are the most virtuous person in the world. And I'm like, whoa, one of these things is not like the other. That's not how logic works. Yes, you can be poor and you can be nice.
Yeah.
You can be dumb and you can be nice. All of
Right.
these things work, but none of these things are mutually exclusive. Man.
And so one example we see before is a former Jehovah's Witness who was taught that worldly success distracts from spiritual matters or may struggle to pursue financial stability, even if they no longer believe in the doctrine. And so that can be one struggle that leads to.
That's it. That was me. Like I realized, like, oh, Darante, what are you doing? Like, I was like, we struggled for so long, and not that we're out of the struggle. We're in a capitalistic country just like everybody else, but we struggled for so long. And I remember 2017 conversation I was having with myself was Darante, you haven't tried not to struggle. Like what you've been aiming for is a struggle, you know. Yeah. You didn't actually sit down, look at the data, and say, what should I be aiming for? You know what I'm saying? Like I was actually looking at my life, and I told my wife, I said, you know, the thing I aimed to do, the thing that I was trying to do with my life, do you know it had a 95% failure rate?
No.
Like being a church planner has a 95% failure rate. Wow. Failure rate. You know, I mean, do not pass go.
Yeah. The odds are
right.
Not.
It has an even higher rate of never getting past 50 members.
I see it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like, so that's like looking at a dartboard of opportunity. And you have all these big ass red circles that have plenty of room to hit. And you see one green dot smaller than a speck of fucking dust. And you say, that's what I'm aiming for. Now, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from moonshots or from aiming for that one freaking dot. But I am saying, if this is your first time at the board, why not aim for something that has a chance of paying off?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, that's one of the things I realized. And even though I succeeded, did very well, beat the odds. I'm an odds beater. That's something I do. I do that shit. But I beat the odds, yes. But that was the thing. Once I looked at the math, and it was like, yeah, but beating the odds doesn't really get you to where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
But because I had been living the first half of my life being led, I had to adjust to learn to what it feel like to lead myself. Mm-hmm. I had to adjust to learn what it feels like to ask myself, what do I want to do? You know, one of the most uncomfortable questions I've ever asked myself. What? Y'all ready for this one? Because we're talking about it. We're talking about it, right? One of the most uncomfortable questions I ever asked myself was, how much money do I want to make? Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Because even as a pastor, the number one concern for me was how much money should I make? Mm-hmm. And it was really, I shouldn't make any more than this. So y'all want to hear how much money I wanted to make as a pastor? Y'all, this is it. I used to tell my staff all the time, as long as I got this, I'm good. $500 a month and cover my house. You do that, we're not a month, a week. $500 a week and cover my house. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted.
Now maybe a college student, but not
right.
Not
a grown ass man with kids and a wife, and that's where my thinking was, because I had, number one, I had seen so much fiscal abuse in churches, and I didn't want to be a part of that. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like God had me. Like God is taking care of me. You know, I just need y'all to do the minimum. You know, and boy was I wrong. God didn't. You know, like I was surviving on charisma. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And didn't know it. Like if I would have known I was surviving on charisma, I would have leaned into that shit. All right. So deconstructing these beliefs is like what comes next. Even after religious deconstruction, people must also deconstruct their social, financial, and emotional programming inherited from these religious frameworks. You know, so how do we reframe success without guilt? How do you feel okay about achieving things? How do you feel okay about being proud of yourself if you come from a religious framework where ego is something that's looked down on, that pride is something that is considered a deadly sin, you know, that it's only framed in that way? How do you reframe your idea of pride and success without feeling guilty? How do you learn to accept joy without feeling like you had to earn it through suffering? How do you detach from the belief that struggling makes us more authentic or worthy? See, this discussion challenges people to identify where they still carry these mental scripts and explore what it means to live well without self-imposed struggle. And these are the points where you ask yourself am I living authentically, or is this the impact that the sand has had on me? Is this that time? If y'all are enjoying this, man, drop some fire in the chat, man. I just need to know, because this right here has gotten so good.
Yes. And so one question to think about, or final thought to have is, are you jumping me down? Are you still in chains? And so we'll be getting into and touching into who am I? And so many people may leave religion or who leave religion think they've freed themselves, only to realize they are still operating under religiously conditioned perceptions of struggle, success, and self-worth. And so sometimes when you've been ingrained in things for a long time, it's hard to flesh it out. So you have to feed yourself better information, right? That will help you be productive in a good way. And so true liberation means not just leaving a belief system, but also unlearning its impact of your everyday decisions and worldview.
Yes. And so this identity aspect, who am I? Religious frameworks define identity by assigning meaning to human existence, morality, and belonging. And so you start with those identity through religious labels, whether this is Catholic or Protestant or Assemblies of God or Pentecostal Assemblies of the World or Jehovah's Witness or Mormon, the Church of the Latter-day Saints, or, there's a whole rabbit hole there. But many faiths classify identity through the chosen versus the unchosen, and that's amazing how even in Protestantism, that even manifests, because you have churches that look at other people and it's just like, no, those are the frozen chosen over there. But it's these ideas that there are chosen, even in Islam, there's the Ummah, or the community of believers, that shapes identity around shared religious duty. Converts or apostates often experience identity crisis when leaving a faith because they lose their religious label. And because that label isn't just about the God that I believe in. And this is what I often tell people: religious beliefs are not personal beliefs by far and large. They are social beliefs, because when a person has these beliefs about their religion, it tells them what to believe about the world and their place in the world. Yeah. And then they use that to determine what makes. So when a person, it's hard when you're first deconstructing to feel comfortable letting go of the label of Christian if you still equate Christian with being moral. If you still equate Christian with being good, if you still equate Christian with being American, if you still equate Christian with being your particular race, if you still equate Christian with being superior or advanced or civilized or colonized, if you equate this one label with any of these other labels, then separating yourself from it can feel like an absolute assault on who you are as an individual.
Exile.
Yes.
And that leads to you also see the establishment of right and wrong behaviors. This is right, this is wrong. The identity of through guilt, virtue, or purity. So even things that humans or anyone in nature is doing, or anything in nature is doing, you hear that lingo, that's unnatural.
Yeah.
Well, natural people are doing. People are doing this in the world. It's being done. Okay, and then you kind of hear that separation there of even if the behaviors aren't harmful to other people, you still get,
But I'm glad you hit there, because that's right in line with that superstition. I think that ran through my head earlier. Is that there's so many scams, right? Like there's so many scams, so many schemes, and many people who are the perpetrators of these scams don't even always know that they're the perpetrators of these scams. But like I my eyes go red, like with red flags, anytime I hear anybody using phraseology unnatural. Like, I know you're likely about to say something hateful, or you're about to try to sell me something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It never fails. Someone used the phrase unnatural, and me, I think y'all kind of know me by now, I find no use for the word. You have to prove that something is not natural first. Like, if there's like unnatural, supernatural, extra natural, out of natural, intranatural, all of that shit is in a place that ain't nobody found yet, so it has no utility. Like, people say, oh no, you got to eat all natural foods. Yeah, we can go ahead and time Faithful Foundation out. I think they're here to preach. They don't, you know, the Bible says, he that hath an ear, let him hear. I guess he can't, you know. But no, like, we have those that afterbirth of superstition that flows off, and using that word unnatural is one of those places that we often see that. This is unnatural. That's an unnatural relationship. This is not natural food. This is not. And it's like, where else did you get this if not natural, if not nature? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, so people say certain people's sex lives, well, that's not natural. Well, how did two natural people become not nature? How did they work that transformation? Oh man, how did they go from nature to not nature? Just help me understand. Because it's all nature, you know, and like there is a lot of pseudoscience out there about your health and about your diet. And just to really help you out, nobody is an expert on your individual nutrition. Diets don't work that way. Nutritional biology doesn't work that way. Nobody can tell you what everybody needs to be eating. The moment somebody's telling you that, please know you're dealing with a fool. Now, whether they're an evil fool or just a deceived fool, that's a whole different situation. But either way, you're dealing with a fool. And so just be careful, because there's a lot of stuff out there, because people telling you, oh, this ain't natural. You need this, you need this, you need this. And people are literally killing themselves out here. And I'm like, if you really care, this is why I stopped doing marital counseling as a pastor. If you really care, go get some real help. Right? Yeah. What I started realizing is that people who were coming to me as their pastor for marital advice did not take their marriages seriously. If you honestly took your marriage seriously, you would go see a marriage therapist, a marriage counselor. You value your marriage enough to do that. Please do the same thing with your health. Don't listen to some random on YouTube about your health. Don't listen to, I don't care what they are. I don't care how popular they are. If you have a physician, go to them. All right. Sorry. I had to do that.
But you also see how that plays a role in our social roles, right? Our identities as men, women, and therefore in between, you see how it's based on scriptural or traditional views. So, for example, many fundamentalists, if you will, interpretations of faith assign women to domestic roles while men are given leadership roles. And you see throughout, when you study history, you see those battles and points and movements where women kind of took control. No, I have a right to control what I do. I can do more than being in the kitchen, and you know. And so you see that push.
Well, it's letting go of that should be, right? Yeah. Because like that's what the language. You're a woman, you should be barefoot and pregnant. Mm-hmm. You're a woman, you should be taking care of the kids. You're a woman, like, you know, and then it become like, oh, I don't actually have to live by your should be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you just let your should be for you? Maybe you should be in the kitchen. Man, you know, I mean, you so damn hungry, maybe you should get in there and fix your ass a snack. You know what I'm saying? But no, I love that. I love that. And religious identity, you know, it can provide belonging, structure, and community, but it also leads to internal conflict when one's personal views clash with doctrine. And so we see that often. So now let's kind of attack this from the role in the world perspective. What am I supposed to do? Religions outline moral duties, social expectations, and afterlife consequences that shape how people interact with society. Many religious frameworks emphasize service to others, you know, which is either charity, evangelism, or mission work, which I do. I am pulling together a video on mission work because I want to show you what's really going on behind. Like I don't believe there are any honorable mission organizations. Every mission or organization I've interrogated so far is quasi-political and is basically helping its government get access to more land and resources in other places. But that's a whole nother other conversation. But and I've highlighted some of this stuff because I will always try to be I said always, that's an absolute, but I'll do my best to try to be balanced and nuanced in my discussions. And I have been when it comes to talking about the church and the things that it does positive. Like I will call out churches take care of orphans. They have programs for people, food banks and all of that. But then I will also call out why they're doing it, because they're not doing it to improve the world. They're not doing it because they have any expectations of better outcomes. That's not even how they judge their success rate. They don't judge their success rate by how many lives were actually improved, because that's not what they're measuring. They judge their success rate by how many people filled out a form to be best friends with their imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not great. All right. So now we also have to talk about how this impacts power structures and authority. So religious teachings often reinforce who has power and who follows, right? So an example is like the divine right of kings, which justified monarchy through religious authority, while caste systems and Hindu traditions shape social hierarchy. But even in modern times, in the contemporary charismatic churches, that we often preach that the oil flows from the head. This is often why many pastors can get away with some of the most dehumanizing things in their churches, because their people look at them as a power source, as a source of authority, as one connected directly to God himself.
When you look at the afterlife, I heard somebody pose the question about afterlife. I always hear, do you believe? People ask them, like, and sometimes it's like, why is that necessary? Because if I believe in afterlife or not, doesn't mean it's there or it is. I can't prove it. So, we can imagine, but that's about it. But you see that religion kind of teaches heaven, hell, reincarnation, or enlightenment, and it kind of affects how people live their lives today. If you kind of torture people, just from my experience, you kind of hammer people on it. Oh, don't go do that. He going down this way, or oh, grandma's going to heaven, or so and so's going. I know they in heaven watching over me, and we say, I know. We always start the sentence with, I know, such and such, and we can't possibly know. We don't know that, but you see how it's already ingrained in the mind. And so one example, some Christians dedicate their lives to spreading the gospel to save others from hell, and Buddhists you focus on reducing suffering to break the cycle of rebirth.
And basically these religious frameworks, they shape careers, relationships, activism, and your perspective on social responsibility. But they can also create fear-based obedience or moral rigidity, which I did see a lot of that. And again, religious frameworks aren't just personal beliefs. They're historical, social, and psychological forces that scope entire civilizations. Whether someone embraces challenges or abandons their religious framework, its influence lingers in how they define their purpose and identity and role in the world. And so now we spent some good time on religion. Now let's talk about the influence of physical and social environments on self-identity.
Yeah. So our sense of self is not created in a vacuum, right? It is shaped, molded, and restricted often by the physical and social environments where we live in. And so these forces influence how we define ourselves, how we see others, and what we believe is possible, right? It's setting that tone there. And so when you look at your physical environment, you also see that geography, climate, and resources can play a role in shaping who you are, right? So geography impacts survival strategies, values, and culture. For example, desert cultures develop communal survival mindsets due to resource scarcity. So I was about to say scarcity. No, but scarcity. So while island nations often develop strong collectivist identities based on interdependence. So you can see how where you are plays a role in how you think and
Yeah.
what you should do or what you put your faith on or hope in. And you also see that with, again, climate also affecting behavior. So harsh environments, you may see stronger group identity and survival instincts, and colder climates emphasizing planning, discipline, and endurance, while warmer climates may foster social, expressive, communal lifestyles. Let's get out and do something. It's nice and warm here. It's a lot we can do outside versus coming together inside. An example of that, Nordic countries emphasize efficiency and solitude, while tropical countries often emphasize hospitality and festivity.
Yep. And I like that so much, and that's fascinating from a sociological perspective and just a historical perspective, because you can view in history and you can view where we are today and see how some of these things have impacted us. Even when studying ancient battles between groups from different parts of continents and things, you could kind of see some of this at work, where people who are coming from harsher, colder climates have a stronger attachment to group identity and group survival. And they have a stronger attachment to this idea of discipline and endurance. And during the golden age of Islam, there was actually quite a bit of writing around some of these things, speculations around this. And so then as you see some of those people who are coming from those harsher climates beginning to interact with people who are in warmer climates, you get a whole hodgepodge of trauma, because you have one group that is focused on hospitality and festivity and focused on this very social and expressive and communal lifestyle where everybody's sharing and celebrating, and where there isn't this fear of scarcity. So there isn't this distrust, there isn't this need for group identity and group survival. In this case, without having foreknowledge of that other group's making, if you will, how they've been nurtured, you'd likely have a difficult chance coming up against that. And so I enjoy that. So now let's talk about just the urban versus rural identity. And so city life fosters fast-paced, individualistic mindsets and diverse social interactions, while rural life fosters tradition, strong communal ties, and slower lifestyle adaptations. So I grew up in Dothan, Alabama for the majority of my life, then moved to DC, lived there for a few years, went back and forth. Definitely saw a major difference between what was up there and what was down here. And, and that area is still technically considered the South, but it's so international that there's a good bit to see there. And you begin to realize how things shape people's different values, openness to change, and social expectations. These are many ways that I became comfortable with seeing more nuance, right, in the world. So like in the South, you call everybody ma'am and sir. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely disrespectful not to call, your superiors, your betters, your elders, ma'am or sir, and I've so attached myself to it that I call people younger than me ma'am and sir, like all the time. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I got you. That's Southern in me, right? But then when I moved to DC,
like, don't call me that. Hey,
people literally get mad at you. Which means it's opposite. People feel disrespected by that. I can remember one time I was sitting in class in 6th grade at Patuxent Elementary, and a kid yelled out, "Hey, I got to piss." And I was like, "Oh, he about to get paddled." Like that's where my mind went. Like he is about to get paddled. And the teacher, who looked like Whoopi Goldberg with flip flop, she was like, "Go use the bathroom." And he went and used the bathroom, and he came back, and my mind was blown. I'm like, why didn't he get rolled up? Why didn't he get paddled? He said piss. He didn't. Like you're supposed to go to the. You're supposed to be in trouble for that. And what that did for me was just break me out of this bubble, which I'd always question this bubble anyway. That anything is like that. These people actually know what the hell they're talking about. Because the thing was, the idea you get introduced to at a very young age is that this is wrong and this is wrong everywhere. Everybody knows this is wrong. Yeah. It's common sense that this is wrong. Being able to have those type of experiences let me see that, oh no, this is relative. And it's actually less than relative. This is petty, is what this is.
Yeah.
This is just petty. That's the better word. All right.
I didn't realize people were still getting paddled down south.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. And so basically what we're saying is the physical world sets the stage for identity formation, influencing everything from how we interact with nature to what we identify as normal. You know, so people in the South, when they hear me say, yes, ma'am, that is normal. When I moved to DC and I said, yes, ma'am, oh, that's not normal. That's odd. So, and this is how, and again, this is into the social environment, how culture, religion, and social norms, how these things also define acceptable, what we call acceptable identity. And again, that's kind of dealing with this thing that I've been wrestling with since I deconverted about appropriateness. Like what measurement do I use to determine what is appropriate? So culture dictates what is valued, respected, or condemned. Western culture emphasizes individualism, be yourself, while Eastern cultures may emphasize collectivism, honor your family and community. These different messages shape our self-identity. It shapes how we value ourselves. So if you come from a culture where the idea is, you know, honor your family, honor your community, and that's a lot of the turmoil that's in many Black communities is that we have an East versus West culture within our own communities because we are African and American, like, and that's which means there is this be yourself, but there is also this honor your family and remember where you come from. You know what I'm saying? And so you have things like Southern culture, which emphasizes manners, appropriateness, and humility. While just a few states up, the culture may emphasize expression, education, and entertainment. And so it's good stuff. God, I love this.
Yes. And so we define ourselves based on how others see us at times, right? There's a sociologist named James. Why am I calling him James? Okay, James Charles Cooley called this the looking glass self, where we build our identity by imagining how others perceive us.
Yes.
Wow.
And the looking glass self is a sociological concept developed by Charles Cooley in 1902. It describes how our self-identity is often shaped by our perception of how others see us. In other words, we sometimes define ourselves based on how we think others perceive us, rather than just on our own personal experiences. So 3 main components of the looking glass self is we imagine how we appear to others. In other words, how do people see me? And then we imagine what their judgment of us is. Do they think I'm smart, funny, attractive, weak? And then we develop our self-identity based on those perceived judgments. If I think they see me as intelligent, I may feel confident. If I think they see me as a failure, I may feel insecure. And so, like, oh man, this is good. This is why every time when we kind of have these conversations about knowing yourself and allowing yourself this to kind of see yourself from a non-judgmental angle, this is what we're dealing with, because so many of the voices in your head are not coming from you. And it's because of that, the looking glass self, where you think these are things that you value, and it's not things that you value. It's you looking at your life through other people. And while, yes, this does have some utility, doing this like this can be very damaging to your own sense of self, because you'll find yourself getting caught up in the sunken cost fallacy, where, well, I've been like this for so long, this must be who I really am. Instead of just realizing that, no, I built my life on bullshit and it's okay to build again. Damn, this is good. So, but this becomes very damaging, because then you don't see yourself as valuable if you're not careful. And if other people don't see you as valuable,
wow,
you need their eyes to see you, you know. And again, this is a part of being a social species, but I encourage people, at the rate of things now, this is something you can't depend on. You've got to be able to find a way to be your own mirror. You know what I'm saying? Until you can build your tribe, you have something that reflects you.
That's good stuff right there.
Yes.
And so some examples of the looking glass self in actions: when people curate their online personas based on how they believe others will react leading to validation or anxiety. And you see the stress in that with some people. Even a minority individual growing up in a dominant culture might internalize negative stereotypes or reshape their identity to align with external expectations. Another example, a child raised in a strict religious household may struggle with self-perception in their personal beliefs, and it conflicts with how they are supposed to be seen, which we did do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was a controlling factor in my life for the longest time, is that there is a way that I am supposed to be seen. You know, well, you're a man. You know, you're Black. You're a pastor. You're this, and so because of whatever label people identified me with, they already had a supposed to be for me. Well, you're a pastor. You're supposed to not drink. Who said I was one of the pastors that don't drink? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like it was always me. That's why I came up with that saying. I practice what I preach. I don't practice what everybody else preach. You know what I'm saying? But it's that idea. It's that thing that I had to work through, even with myself, because I realized, like, even as bold and as I was, and as, you know, powerful as I was in the church setting, so much of who I was trapped in a box, you know, because, you know, what you're supposed to be this way now. This is why I cuss like unreservedly now, because I don't believe in magical words. Like people will comment under my stuff and they'll be like, "Oh man, I would prefer it if you didn't cuss." And I'd be like, "I don't give a fuck. I don't exist for your preferences. I would prefer it if you stop trying to put your preferences on me. I don't exist for you. My words don't hurt you. If you're the type of person that I say the word and you go, I don't want to fucking be around you. Grow the fuck up. Get the fuck away from me, motherfucker." Like, damn it. Like, how do you even go to movies with people like that? Like, who are you? I don't believe in magical words. Now that works two ways for me. That means your curse words don't hurt me, but it also means your thank yous don't help me either. You know what I'm saying? Oh, y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all ain't ready for this. Yeah, no, these are my words. They my words. You know what I'm saying? Yes, this above all, to your own self be true. Now, what I've loved is that I've responded that way to some people, and some of them have come back and said, "You know what? I'm sorry. I should have never done that." And it's okay, because we are so used, and that's what we're talking about. Yeah. How that religious bathwater is still on us. How even though you're not a Christian anymore, you still believe you have the right to pilot other people's lives. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
She says you got 3 decades to make up for.
Yes, I know that's right.
You know, you reminded me of Bernie Mac when he said, "I ain't scared of you, motherfuckers."
I ain't scared of you, motherfuckers. That's right, man. It's like, oh man. But and for me, it's not even just the cussing. It's the pseudo shit that's attached to it. If you tell me, well, people won't see you as credible if you cuss, then those people don't know what the fuck credibility is. That is the same type of shallow stuff that says if you don't wear a 3-piece suit, you're not saying anything important. It is these type of pseudo approaches to life that has gotten us to the place where people can't tell that there's a fucking primate in the office. And I mean, we're all primates, but this one's really bad. Okay? People can't tell because we have absolutely disconnected them from the shit that matters. You know? Yeah. Like no. Ooh, I love y'all. Y'all are so good. Y'all are so good. Man. Oh my goodness.
And so the looking glass, when you're looking at it, the looking glass self and social control, how's that flavor?
So this concept also explains why societal norms, media, and cultural expectations hold so much power. We're constantly shaping our behaviors and our self-concept based on what we think society values, sometimes leading to conformity, self-doubt, or even rebellion. Access to wealth and resources shapes what we believe we're capable of. And this is why I'm an activist in this field. Like, we have no idea how wealth inequality shapes people, which we should, because all you have to do is pay attention. Yeah. All you have to do is have a few conversations with people. It doesn't just impact what school you go to. It doesn't just impact what car you drive and what neighborhood you live in. It impacts what you feel like that you can achieve as an individual. It impacts what you feel like you can aim for. It impacts what you feel like you even have a right to try to aim for in life. These are real issues. So a person raised in poverty might internalize scarcity mindsets. I have to fight for everything. While someone raised in wealth might adopt entitlement or confidence in opportunities. Social environments tell us who we should be and who we're allowed to be. Oh my goodness. Because that becomes the messaging, right? If you're not who you should be, we will reject you. And that's the message we end up learning. Is that if I'm to be happy, I got to be what they want me to be. And this is why we end up living our lives to, and it's a nice thing to say, I'm doing this to make my mama proud. I'm doing this to make my daddy proud. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not doing this to make anybody else proud. That's a really weird goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, why you ain't got your own pride? Why you need me to go do this for you to be proud? Like, this is a bad situation. This is a bad start. Just chopping off your head to stand on it to make yourself taller. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But whether we accept, reject, or redefine these expectations determines what we attach to our self-identity. Man, is this good, y'all? Is this good stuff? If this good, this is what I'm gonna ask you to do. Y'all already know. Drop some fire in the chat just so we can let everybody know so we can get it. All right, let's go. I'm sorry.
Well, you also see some people may conform to their environments, embracing cultural norms, traditions, and expectations, which can be fine in a sense, and others resist or redefine their environments, influence, challenging social roles, religious beliefs, or systemic barriers. And so, are we shaped by our environments, or do we shape them? That's such a great question. And it's not a one all or be all, because it's complex, because the truth is both can be true. It's both. The challenge is recognizing when external forces are defining us and when we have the power to break free from that.
Yes, and I love that. Major shout out to Cherry, who is getting settled in Guatemala. Yes, which means Cherry, your first pin on the map in Guatemala. So you got to help us get a community started there. You got to help us get it started up. Oh man, but no, I love that because you said it's many times it's both. I spent the whole first part of my life just being shaped. Right, I am now starting to do the shaping. I am not so disillusioned where I don't realize that I've still been shaped and that I'm still being shaped. As a matter of fact, like, I have very, very sober conversations about my relationships with people because I understand how life shapes me. And so, like, there was a group that I was working with, and I told my wife, I said, if I have to pull this out of the mud, if I have to do this myself, that the space that they think they're going to be able to come back to is not going to be available because I will be shaped by the memories of having to do it myself. I'm very look, some people don't like that stuff, but I am super honest with myself. And what that does is it keeps me from unnecessarily slowing down. You know what I'm saying? It keeps me from going back and checking. It's like, nope. And of course, with that, I had to balance that out just by learning to respect where other people are. You're just not ready for this, or this isn't something you want to do. You don't have to want to do this because just because I want to. But I am telling you, if I do this by myself, the room that I've made available for you today, that room will not be available to you tomorrow because I will have been shaped by those memories of doing it by my damn self. You know what I'm saying? It'll be like, we'll be sitting there and we're like, man, you remember that time when I had to do this? No, you don't, because your ass wasn't there and I had to do it by my damn self, but no, like, so I worked through that, but primarily because I had to do the same thing with my parents. I had to, like, for years, I struggled with, like, why don't I have a relationship with my parents the way other people have these type of relationships? And it's like, oh no, because I've been shaped by their absence. I've been shaped by their dereliction. It was like one of those hard things, even trying to tell my mom, like, she wondered, like, why don't you have this attachment? I'm like, I don't have that attachment because I don't have those memories. You know what I'm saying? Like, woo, parenting. All right. So the question is, are you the sand or the sculpture? Like the sand in the wind, our environments constantly shape us. Some let themselves be carried wherever the forces blow. Others become sculptors, taking control over their form despite external pressures. Now, that's what I'm doing the best to live my life at now. And that's what I've been doing the best to live my life since probably 2016, is realizing that the external pressures is always going to be there. But as of now, I find so much joy and wonder in knowing that we are an evolutionary species, not a defined product. Oh, I got to say that again. I find so much awe, wonder, joy, and excitement in the reality that we are an evolutionary species, not a defined product.
Yeah.
Because then I realize that no, I am not some merchandise that has fallen from grace. I am not some merchandise that was designed at some point and that has degraded over the centuries. I am the opposite. I am something that is consistently evolving. I'm a part of an evolutionary species. And yes, there is a lot of pressure out there and it seems to be never ending, but reality tells me that I have evolved to deal with it. Y'all don't want to talk to me. Oh, I could preach by my damn self all day long. No, I've evolved to deal with it. So I take joy in that. Like, oh, the moment I realize no God, no design, no young earth, the world is a place filled with opportunity. Like I am a rising primate. Y'all don't want to understand. Like, keep rising. Keep rising. That's why, no. So, okay, sorry. So our identity and our worldview are not formed in isolation. They're shaped by historical legacies, societal movements, and real-time events that define the world around us. So as we get ready to close out this series today, we're going to hit this last segment. We've talked about religion. We've talked about our social environments. Now let's talk about history itself.
And history is so interesting because we can inherit historical narratives from our families, schools, and communities that also shapes how we view the world. So as African Americans, often carry a legacy shaped by slavery or Jim Crow laws and the civil rights movement, influencing collective identity and social consciousness. And you see that it also affects how we approach society as an adult. We always, get told you got to be 5 steps ahead or you got to know more in order to get a little more.
You got to be 10 times as good to get twice as much.
Yeah. And if you get pulled over, if you're even looking for your ID, you can't even do that. Don't do that until you're telling you got to keep it both hands on the wheel. Don't look anywhere, even if you say so. So it shapes how we approach our everyday lives a lot of times as adults, and that plays a big role.
And I mean, even that, just hitting that real quick, that goes into why certain people groups have higher blood pressure. Like if you're literally worried every time you see a cop car, every time you see a cop car, or every time you see a barrage of pickup trucks coming down the road, you wonder, is this today that the South is rising again? Those type of things are going to contribute to health issues. And thank you for calling that out, the prestige and epigenetics as well. And that is a whole conversation that definitely needs to be had. Yeah, half as much. There it is. Yep, you got it. Yep, there it is. Thank you, Kyle. And so there's also colonialism and power structures. So colonial history reflects national identity, economic systems, and racial hierarchies. It even shapes how we feel about what other people have a right to, right? Yeah. Like, it's very interesting. Many post-colonial nations still experience economic dependence, cultural identity struggles, and political instability as a result of historical exploitation. And so many nations that have experienced dependence from colonialism are still economically dependent on those places. Many of them are still required to pay the people back the money they lost from their independence. Like, oh, it's horrible. And so some view history as repetitive, cyclical oppression, power struggles, and resistance movements, while others see it as a slow march toward progress. Now, I think I kind of see it as both. When we do take a very focused view of history, we can definitely see the cycles. But when we do take the long view of history, we definitely see the slow march toward progress, which is why my slogan will always be keep rising. You know what I'm saying? But it's looking bad out there. I know, keep rising, keep moving forward, because we're capable. We're an evolutionary species. Japan, holy snap. Somebody please star that so we add Japan to the map. That is so awesome. Thank you, Ryan. It's so glad to have you here. And so there's also the rise of authoritarianism today echoes past regimes, making historical awareness crucial for resisting oppression. And not just historical awareness. I want to add to this too. It's not just having historical awareness, because that we seem to major there. Like every time there's somebody who looks like a Nazi, we're really good at being able to say, that's a Nazi, that's a Nazi. That's literally all we're good at being able to do. So I'm not sure if we've learned the proper lessons yet. The lesson isn't see something, say something. The lesson is see something, do something. Y'all better talk to me out there. Like, and I want, again, y'all know me, Black nationalist tendencies, so you're just gonna hear some stuff, you're gonna have to go with it. But like this was a problem for me during George Floyd, because we pride ourselves at being the people who film when we have hands to intervene. You got it. And like, so when people ask me, how are people following a Nazi regime? I think the same way human beings, when watching another human being being murdered, will pull out their phones and record and not intervene because they have more respect for authority than personhood. Yeah. That's not a new problem in this country. Yeah. That is not a new problem in this country. So being the person to point out the Nazi is not helpful unless you're also going to be the person to punch the Nazi when they try to take somebody's rights. Yeah. If you're just going to sit there, I'm recording this for you, I'm going to let the world know what happened. That helps the world. It doesn't help me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And sign Darante. Sorry. All right. So, but that's how you get it. That's how you get it. History frames our expectations of the future, whether we feel hopeful, cynical, oppressed, or I take a very empowered approach to history because I've taken the long view of it from a sociological perspective. Man, this is good. All right, so now let's talk about societal movements, shaping identity, and social consciousness.
Yeah, so societal movements also reshape cultural norms, policies, and individual identities. For example, the feminist movement shifted how women saw their roles in society, moving from domestic expectations to the workplace and political power. You also see the LGBTQ plus rights movement, redefine personal and social identity, increasing acceptance and legal protections in some ways.
Absolutely. And so now today, movements spread faster due to social media, shaping how we see ourselves in relation to the world, right? For example, BridgeCity Global has a global impact, influencing not just the US, but I mean, hey, Japan is in the chat. The UK is in the chat. Canada is always in the chat. Guatemala is in the chat. I mean, come on now. So these are things that also impact our perspectives, which is one of the things, like, this is why we're BridgeCity Global, like the audacity, right? The audacity, little black guy in Dothan, Alabama, and say, we're going to start a community called BridgeCity Global. And in less than a year, that's what we are. We're across the globe. That's some audacity right there. That's some, damn, it feels good to be me. But notice that, right? But because of social media and the way that this movement is spreading, do you see how that's impacting my identity?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just knowing that, man, somebody in Japan knows my name and actually cares about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, that somebody in UK named Mutton like appreciates the work that we do so much that he's a Patreon and he's one of our chat moderators.
Yes.
He's always in here going over and above. Like, how has that happened? Those types of things impact our identity. But let's flip that around, because that's not just some celebrity thing. Let's flip that around. Imagine how many of your identities have been impacted just by being a part of community like this, just by being a part of conversation like this, by being able to have something to wrestle with. And so movements themselves become identity battlegrounds. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we have attracted from Saudi Arabia. Very interesting. I wonder if we get some more. And Russia. Saudi Arabia and Russia are the most interesting ones to me.
Yeah.
So some individuals resist societal change and feel their identity is under attack. So you get backlash against feminism, you get backlash against LGBTQ plus rights and immigration. And most of these things are based in superstitions, things that are very petty. So, we've seen the backlash against trans women. And all of a sudden, there's certain women, not a lot, thankfully, women have been, it's always men. Like, well, no, now we have trans women. Y'all are taking this from women. And it's like, oh, when did you care about women's rights? That was an interesting pivot there. I wasn't expecting that. But you'll often see it, and this is that should and that unnatural, that when someone else's identity doesn't align with yours, you can feel attacked. And that's what we've seen with a lot of these people. And so, like, watch this. Being Black and not being grateful for America makes white Americans, particularly males, feel attacked. Mm-hmm. If like atheist or otherwise, if someone hears me as an African American male say I'm not proud of this country, and say that I've never been proud of this country, and say that I don't think it was any justice to ever have me a part of this country. Mm-hmm. If I say that, my identity, that's just my identity, which anybody with half a brain should be able to see why that would be my identity. But you might have a white male American who hears that and feels like his America is under attack because I don't love it. Yeah. Now, if we don't realize the depth of immaturity that is, to think if somebody doesn't come out and say your little red Corvette is the best little red Corvette on the block, that person is somehow attacking you. Is that if that person says, no, I don't want the Corvette, I want the little lemon. But this is what we've done in life. Like, we've now said, if you're not who I want you to be so that I can feel comfortable being me, then something is wrong with you. Mm-hmm. But what we're also learning how to do is others are learning how to embrace change and build new identities around activism and progressive values, which is why, like, we boldly use that language. We are progressive thinking. I don't give a flying fuck what the forefathers said. No, we're progressive thinking. I know. No, I don't really care. I don't really care. That to me, that's the same problem of religion. We should be looking at what people are dealing with today. Yeah. To me, that is a slippery slope. That's how we keep getting rights and they keep getting taken away, because somebody gets to reinterpret the past instead of we just get to vote on shit today. That's a whole nother conversation. All right. And so now let's end this out with the current events that now shape us.
Yeah, so the way current events are framed at times also influences how we interpret them. So the example, the same event, such as a protest, can be labeled as a fight for justice, or it can also be labeled as a riot, shaping public perception.
Yes. And that is something that I do often try to remind people of, is like, please remember the nuance that everybody is a villain to somebody and everybody is a hero to somebody. This is why I do not like the intense labeling that we do, because we can really get locked up into it. But instant access to worldwide events has helped to broaden identity beyond local and national affiliations. And as someone who's always kind of felt like a nomad, that's something that makes me very, very proud. That's something I am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to a more globalized society. And climate change awareness has created, somewhat of a global identity movement, more so than even our racial struggles in the 50s and 60s, which were working to build a global movement. The climate change has driven home not just the idea that we need to work together, but the idea that we need to work together to continue to stay alive. And there's what better motivation than an existential threat,
Yeah. And so you also look at government policies can also alter identity and opportunities in real time. For example, immigration laws can impact how immigrants see themselves in their host country, whether they feel welcome or alienated. You also may have Supreme Court rulings on abortion or marriage equality and civil rights, and see how that redefines societal roles overnight as well. And so you have a great impact where current events create identity shifts in real time, forcing people to align, resist, or adapt their worldviews.
And so for the final thought is are we shaped by history or do we shape it? History sets the stage for sure. It gives us the foundation of our cultural and social identity. Societal movements rewrite the script. They redefine what is acceptable, moral, and possible. And then current events often force us to act. They challenge us to refine, defend, or change our worldview.
Yeah, and so the question is, do we let these forces define us, or do we actively participate in shaping them ourselves?
And from a Bridge City perspective, like we're here, that's why we're surviving the sands, is because we're looking for ways to shape it. As individuals, as a community, what can we do? Speaking of which, we're not just building the community. If you're paying attention and you've been seeing, we're building a revolution in connection, growth, and belonging. Bridge City Global is creating a space where progressive thinkers, people-centric builders, and life-affirming voices come together to challenge outdated norms and shape a future built on empathy, respect, and collective progress. And we want you to be a part of it. There are several ways you can get involved. You can volunteer, take action, where you can be a part of something bigger. We need people to help organize, engage, and amplify our mission. From moderating discussions to helping launch local watch parties and events, your voice and effort matter. And then, of course, you can support the movement. Bridge City Global exists because of people like you. Your financial support helps us expand programming, create live experiences, and provide more opportunities for connection and growth. And then obviously the easy one, something that we can all do, you can spread the word. The power of this movement grows when you share it. Talk about us and invite others into the conversation and be an ambassador for the future of community beyond superstition. This isn't just an idea, it's a movement already taking shape, and we need you in it. So if you're interested in volunteering, join us on Discord so we can get that conversation cracking. And if you want to support financially, stay tuned for the giving options in the next segment. And let's build something real, something lasting, and something that changes lives.
Yes. And as always, family, we thank you so much for the time you took to join us today.
Yes.
We solely appreciate it. Thank you for being here, a part of these conversations, and thank you for being a part of the movement, the global movement that's changing lives. If it's not obvious yet, we're very serious about making a real tangible impact, and your support in any form helps us accelerate that progress and development in key areas across the world. So if you do value these conversations and connections and it impacts you in any type of way that we're building together, you have plenty of ways that you can continue to support. You can join Patreon if you're not in there. Come on, join the Patreon and be a part of a sustaining community. Also, you can send a super chat if you like. We definitely appreciate those who did that, and your message stands out and it helps fuel the mission as well. We also have new merch. We put that link in before. You can also catch it on descriptions or in the bio as well. You can also donate through PayPal or Cash App. Every contribution matters, and we definitely appreciate you all, your overwhelming support throughout this time in the new year. We also did a live poll, so if you didn't participate, come on, what you doing, because I'm about to read it out, okay? So we appreciate you doing the poll. This is how we love learning more about who's in the room, who's new, who's returning. And so the poll results for this week, we had 51% who were new. This is your first time joining us, so thank you so much. If you don't know my name is Darnaya Darice, okay? First name, middle name, okay? But you can call me D. People call me Nay. You can call me Darnaya. It's all good. But thank you so much for tuning in and dropping by. Don't let it be your last time. Get involved. Join us on Discord so we can have continued conversations and see where you're at in your life. And just remember, we come from all different walks of life. We come from different perspectives. That was the point of the conversation, right? And so, let me join over here. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so that camera knocked off, but we're going to keep it rolling. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm going to mute him over here. All right, so I appreciate you all for staying on. Thank you so much. Technology don't stop the show. Okay, we're going to keep it rolling. Darnay, okay, you remember Native Atheists. I appreciate you. But thank y'all so much. Don't forget tonight. Also, there is at 5 p.m. Central, that's 6 p.m. Eastern, the Content Creator Masterclass with Dragon and Genesis. That's going to be so fun. So make sure you join back in if you have some time. Make sure you let someone know. I know in the former days when I was in church younger, the high five your neighbor, talk to somebody on your way out, get to know each other. And just remember that disagreement doesn't have to lead to disconnection. That's with your friends, family. You're going to disagree with people, but it's also opportunities to learn, to grow, and to thrive, okay? And so we all should be learning and giving opportunities and giving people grace, if I can use the word, because I use it, okay? We use it over here. So thank you so much for tuning in. We took up a good portion of your time today, but I hope you got something out of it, and I hope it opened your mind up a little bit, and I hope you can use it to see how other people step in. You ever heard that phrase, step in other people's shoes? That's what it kind of does. And like, oh, okay, they may think this way because they were born in a different area from me, or they dealt with different things than I have. They learned, they were ingrained with different molds of thinking, of moral values and things of that nature. So you gotta give that grace and that open opportunity. And always remember, it's always good to connect and to grow together than to be by yourself. All right. So thank you all again for joining us. We'll see you back I was about to say tomorrow night, y'all. Tomorrow is Monday and I gotta go to work. And I've been doing overtime all week. But we'll see you back tonight. All right. We look forward to seeing you there, and stay tuned for the credits. Thank you, and catch you later.
I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh. I got my own autonomy, you could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball, yeah. I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh. I got my own autonomy, you could never bother me. Yes, I'm unfucked with the ball. Let me tell you how I know. I had to get up off the floor. I had to get it out the mud. I had to finally let it go. I know my mama told me so, but she could never really know that when a boy was getting older, that his mind was getting sober, yeah. But I'm getting closer now. I had a church, but I closed it down. Had to reverse the emotions. I had to apologize. Selling eternity, willing to die. I was just living a lie. Walking by faith and ignoring the sight. Better off rolling the dice. And what I'm saying is that I'm living and I've learned. I've given and I've earned enough for my concern. And if I'm living, then I'm living on my terms. Call it a lesson learned, but it's finally been confirmed. I finally got the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm up with the ball, yeah. I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm up with the ball. I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own